Sometimes it's tough talking about the difficult topics that we as men face. Not anymore. I am Oliver Green, and I am your host of Let's Talk Dirty.
Well, welcome back. I am your host, Oliver Green, and I wanted to welcome all my new listeners and all my returning listeners to Gospel Impact Radio and say thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Dirty. Every day there's another opportunity to gain clarity in the things that prevent us, particularly men, because that's what this show is geared to, from being called to be the men that we were created to be. So my guest today, I met him at church. And I mean, how many of you know when you see somebody at church, you know, guy or not, like wherever we're at, you know, you look and be like, what's his deal? You try to size him up. It doesn't change. We may not talk about it. Which is part of the problem why we get in the situations that we get in, because we don't talk about them. And then I see him and he's part of the worship team. And whatever the angst was, whatever the size up was, became less and less as time went on. When you get to know a person, you tend to eliminate the barriers. But I think as one of the major issues that create a problem, so we don't have conversations, are some of the things that we didn't deal with growing up. Some of the things that prevent us from being able to have that real-to-real conversation with another man, whether it be older, younger, whomever. But without further ado, the gentleman that I have today, I have personally, from a distance and up close, seen him grow from the young man with maybe not as much wisdom to still the young man, but he has a whole lot of wisdom. He has a whole lot to say, and that's what I wanted to bring to you today. I tried to keep a wide variety of individuals on the show, and my guest, he did a thing, and the name of the show title today is The Devil is a Liar. And we'll get into why I've named this the show that topic. Samary, if you could unmute and come on in, we can go ahead and get started.
What's going on, people? How y'all doing today?
All right, Samary, real quick, give the audience insight on who Samary Duncombe is.
Well, Samary Duncombe, Samary Bernard Duncombe, is going to put that middle name in this later on. Samary Bernard Duncombe, born in Miami, 23 years old, married, no kids, born in Miami, raised in Georgia, moved back to Florida, to Jacksonville. That's why I currently, if you want to say currently, back and forth, I say that, live, joined the father's house where I met OG. Now I'm in the military, so now my other 50-50 where I live is in Valdosta, Georgia. That's where I'm stationed at Moody Air Force Base. Been in the military for 2.5 years, signed to 6 years, so I got 4 more years left. And yeah, that's really about it. Artist, St. Bernard. That's why the Bernard came in, St. Bernard. Album dropping soon, guys. Make sure you guys check that out. But definitely.
Look, don't give him too much. Don't give him too much of that. Yeah, we got it. We're gonna hold that off. That's coming. That's coming.
Forget I said that, everybody. Forget I said that. No album dropping soon. But definitely honored to be here. Definitely grateful to be here. Thank you, OG, for having me on the show. But I have a good time.
All right. What are some fun things you like to do?
first make music for one. I like to spend time with my wife and my dog, my only child, really, my only dog. We spend time together. I forgot to mention that I've been married for a year now. We just had our 1-year anniversary, so thank God for that. So spending time with her, growing more, knowing her more. Still like to travel. Like I said, 50-50. So I live in Austin, but then I come to Jacksonville on the weekends. So we like to travel a lot. Let's see. I don't know if it's a hobby, but I definitely love studying the Bible a lot. Trying to get more into that. But that's a fun thing I like to do on my spare time. Play video games sometimes, in and out, here and there. That's really about it. I don't really get into a lot of stuff because, your boy's focused right now.
All right. So with the being focused, you mentioned Saint Bernard. We're going to get into how Saint Bernard became to be the musical genius that he is. But real quick, tell the people how they can follow give them your social handles.
Social handles. You can find me on Facebook at Saint Bernard, or you can type in official Saint Bernard. It'll pop up on Facebook. Instagram is official Saint Bernard on Instagram. Let's see what else I have. I believe that is it. YouTube, type in Saint Bernard. YouTube has a wide variety of channels and stuff like that. So if you want to specifically find my page, type in Saint Bernard. And as OG said, you can type in Saint Bernard, Devil's a Liar. And my page will be the first page that pops up. And that's where you can find my YouTube channel. Also on my SoundCloud. For now, it'll be SoundCloud, but we'll hold it off till later. But for now, SoundCloud, you find it on Saint Bernard as well.
All right, good deal. All right, so let's jump right in. Talk in detail about what being raised by a single mom. How was that for you?
Raised by a single mom. It was interesting. It was definitely interesting. It was definitely a humbling experience to see my mom, raise two boys. I have a brother, raise two boys on her own for so many years at that. Seeing a lot of people come in and out as single moms do. A lot of men come in and out. I think in the long run that did more damage to us than, good for her. I think it did damage to her as well, seeing men come in and out. But she did her best, and she did an amazing job taking care of two kids, two kings, as she always say, by herself. Didn't have any help. Worked jobs, overtime, doubles, 2 jobs. Eventually, my brother got his own job at one point. I was still kind of young, so I was still in school. So he went off to college. I was still with her. We moved to Jacksonville by ourselves. We moved from one side of Jacksonville to another side of Jacksonville by ourselves. A lot of stuff was just by ourselves. So I really built a bond between me and my mom. But I feel like having those men come in and out of our lives, it was a small part of me that really didn't, trust her, I guess. So it was one point that I kind of rebelled against my mom. After all the stuff we went through, just me and her, is one point where I kind of rebelled against her, doing my own thing, out in the streets, doing God knows what. That's a testimony for later. Doing all types of things. I kind of rebelled, and I hurt my mom, actually. Hurt my mom, single mom, doing everything she can for her children, sacrificing. Sometimes she would not eat just to make sure we ate. She'll spend money on us, make sure we got clothes, stuff like that. And she'll give her clothes away just to get money to give us clothes. So it's kind of like she was sacrificing a lot. And I really didn't see that back then. I was still young, obnoxious. So I really didn't see all the things she did for us. But now looking back on it, I can really say that as a single mom, she did an amazing job taking care of 2 kids. And it kind of put me in a mindset where now when I see other single moms, I can kind of, I don't know their struggle, but I know their struggle because I've been raised by single mom myself. So I know how hard they work, the sacrifices, the times where they'll sacrifice eating or just doing what they have to do to get money, working 2 jobs, working double, working overtime, dealing with crazy people at their job because they know their kids in the back of their mind. So they'll do whatever they have to do to support their children. And for all the single moms out there, man, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all because I know what it's like, and it's hard. Times I see my mom cry at night. She'll cry. Sometimes she'll want to give up, and sometimes I had to be that rock. I had to be that rock to say, hey, you gotta keep pushing because it's only us, and that really held us together. So for all the single moms, keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you, and your work is not unnoticed. We see your work, and we really appreciate you.
And for those that don't know, when you're raised a certain way, good, bad, or indifferent, you tend to pick up on others that have similarities. And I think sometimes we don't understand why we have, like, what's the connection? You don't really know until you have the conversation with a person. You know, I was raised by my mom. You know, I don't have a brother, but, you know, so it's one of those, would see Samary from a distance, but I could understand him without having a conversation. Because when you've been in a situation and you see others that have come out, you know, may have experienced some of the things that you've experienced, you tend to you become more compassionate, you become more in tune, you may find yourself reaching out more, or listening more, because some of the things that are said, you said them, and you understand that if not guided correctly, where they can go. So was your dad around at all when you were growing up?
He was in and out. At first, he left. Like I said, I was born in Miami. He left when I had to been at least 2 or 3, and I didn't see him again until I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school, so whatever age that is, that's when I saw him again. But he was only there for a few months, and then he left again. And then we moved from the west side of Jacksonville to the south side of Jacksonville. And then he came back, and he was there for a few months, and then he left again. So all those times where he came in and out, you know, those times where he was there, you know, we built a semi-relationship while he was there. But when he left again, it was kind of void. Kind of what Tupac said in one of his songs, when he said his dad died, but he couldn't cry because he couldn't have no love for a stranger. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's kind of how it was. It's kind of like a stranger living in my house. He lived in my room. When he came to live with us, he was staying in my room. So that was kind of weird. So it kind of forced me to try to attempt to build a relationship with him. But in the back of my mind, it's like, you're going to leave again. I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, why am I talking to you? First of all, why are you in my room? That's first of all. There's another bedroom in there. So that was kind of weird. And it was like, so when he left again, for one, it didn't catch me by surprise. And I had to be careful. Now, looking back on it, it's kind of seeing that it caused like small damages that I didn't notice when it happened. But looking back on it, it kind of damaged me a little bit that I didn't notice. So he came back. It was kind of like, oh, he came back. Okay, we can spend more time together. And that the second time he came back, which was the last time he came back, we spent more time together. You know, we went out to places. He got a job, so he was able to bring money in the house. So we went out places, went out to eat, went to different types of attractions in Jacksonville. So we did more things together. And at that point, I was older too. So when he came back the second time, I believe I was a junior or senior. Or was I even in school? I don't think I was even in school around that point. So I was a little bit older. So I kind of understood more what was going on. I was able to have more mature conversations with him. I never asked him, which was why I kind of still regret to this day. I never asked him why you left, which I believe we should ask just to find out, to figure out the root cause of what was going on. Because the only thing I got was what my mom told me. And that's not good, because two sides to every story. Well, three sides, always there's three sides to every story. There's one party side, another party side, and the truth. So it was like I had to figure out where those two stories met up to actually figure out the truth. So I wanted to ask him, but I never asked him. I still don't know to this day. But that second time, it was different. It was better. It was different in a good way, but he still left. I think the last time I saw him was at my wedding with my wife. That was the last time I saw him. And found out I have two extra brothers. I have two younger brothers. I'm like, okay, where did they come from? So I introduced myself. So I have two more brothers, and I have another brother, apparently. I have some brothers everywhere. So there's that. But that second time, yeah, my dad was, it was different. It was different. And like I said, being raised by a single mom, even if he wasn't my dad, just looking at it from being a male, you see my mom have all these types of different men, and then the man, which is my dad, came in. I kind of subconsciously put him in that category of just a man. So I just didn't even trust him at all. Like, you could be my dad, you could be my granddaddy, like, I just didn't trust you. So even when I got the father's house, like, I didn't trust my pastor. I really didn't trust any man. And that can be a damage. Not having a dad in your life is just not trusting a man.
Well, now everybody, I hope that you picked up everything that Samary was putting down. Not having your biological father or a male figure that is on the straight and narrow in your life can create a problem for you as you get older. It doesn't allow you to feel.
Basically.
You know, it doesn't allow you to understand that. It doesn't allow you to trust. Let's just go with that. It doesn't allow you to as you get older, you don't know how to feel properly. You don't know how to deal with your emotions properly. You know, you don't know how to overcome the anger that you may have. And you may not, and you don't understand it because the person that possibly has, that you've gotten it from is not there. And then that creates additional issues for you as you get older, because how many of you know that we as men at young ages, as boys, if we don't have the proper guidance in front of us, telling us right from wrong and how to do the things that we need to do that are going to benefit us growing up, we'll figure out our own solution. And we'll make it work for us. And we'll make it work for us. We'll make it, it'll sound great. And we'll continue to play that scenario back in our head. When in all actuality, it's kind of, we're setting ourselves up for failure. But I had to get to a point that I had to realize that I necessarily wasn't at fault for some of the things that I did. But when I came to the realization that I wasn't at fault, I could no longer use the excuse that I used. My dad wasn't around, and that's why I did it. And if you listen to what Samary said before, then you have to get to the root cause. And if you don't get to the root, his root, like he wanted to ask his dad, "Why'd you leave?" What was it? And because his dad was in and out, you just heard him say, well, I was sharing a room with my dad and I put him in the category of the other men because there wasn't that father-son relationship. So Samary, I remember you saying that you're currently in the, what branch?
Air Force.
Air Force. What prompted you to want to go into the service and in particular, the Air Force?
So my wife, she her aunt is retired Air Force. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. So before I joined the military, I had no job. I was actually living in a homeless shelter. A lot of people don't know that. Living in a homeless shelter, had no job. And before that, I was just like jumping from job to job. I was really never at a job. I was never really at a job for more than a year. Most of my jobs lasted between 3 and 6 months. After 6 months, I either left or I left. I just did. I just stopped working. I don't know. I just never had a mindset of wanting to work. I was always lazy. I was content with where I was. That's deep. Most of my life, my mom took care of me. So when I met my wife, but back then girlfriend, she had a job, so she was taking care of me at that point. She was taking me everywhere, so stuff like that. So that was something I was used to. I was comfortable with. So I never really wanted a job. So that kind of had been raised by a single mom kind of led over to my relationship, and I was content with being taken care of by a woman. So when she was taking care of me, I didn't have no desire to get a job. And then when I did get a job, because she forced me to, women like me get a job. So I got a job, but I didn't even stay there for more than 6 months, you know what I'm saying? So I was content with where I was. So I was hopping from job to job, living in a homeless shelter, didn't have any job. My wife went and got on her dates. She paid for the bill. She picked me up in her car. She drove from the west side to the south side where I was staying at just to pick me up, go on a date. She'll pay for it, drop me off, and she'll have to drive all the way back to the west side. So we was doing that for almost a year, maybe a year and a half. So at that point, I knew if I wanted to marry her, which I did want to marry her, I needed to get a job. I couldn't be where I was forever. So her aunt, I was asking people, I need a job, They could tell we want to get married. So her aunt is retired Air Force. So she was telling me about the Air Force. And actually, my family is mostly military people. So my uncle is in the Air Force, cousins in the Air Force. Well, military, so that military, uncles in the military, cousins in the military, aunts in the military. My father was in the military. So a lot of people was just in the military. I have family in the military, and my wife's aunt is retired military. But my wife's aunt, she's the one that really bribed me to join the military. That's all a bribe. It's not recruiting. Let's get that word out there. It's not a recruit, it's a bribe. They're bribing you to join the military. So she bribed me and she got me. She persuaded me. She's like a car salesman. Forget car salesmen. Military recruiters, they will get you. So she joined me. She wanted me to join the military. She told me all the benefits, the ways they can take care of you. So I felt that was a good way to be able to set my future up for not only my wife, but prayerfully future kids to come. So here I am in the military 2.5 years later, loving it. I'm getting deployed soon, so that'll be a good experience. So that's when I joined the military. And did I want to join the military at first? Absolutely not. I did not want to join the military at first. I was struggling. I was in boot camp. I wanted to quit. Y'all know boot camp. Well, whoever's listening, y'all join the military. Boot camp it's something you'll always remember. Been in the military for 20 years. You'll never forget your boot camp experience. So that was catastrophic by itself. So I wanted to quit. But once I pushed through because I always remember, why did I join the military? People tell me that a lot. Remember your why. Because even now I want to quit. Some days I want to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. But I have to remember my why. I'm in my place, which the military provided. I was able to marry my wife, which the military provided. I was able to get my car. I know I said earlier I didn't have a car. I have a car now, which the military provided. So the military really provided a lot for my life, which I'm grateful for. So I realized that joining the military was a very, very good decision. The Air Force was, I don't want to be biased, so I'm not even going to say that, but I've heard that the Air Force takes care of their people better than most branches. I'm just going to throw that out there. It didn't come from me. I heard that from people. It didn't come from me. But that's what prompted me to join the military, was trying to figure out how can I take care of my wife. Well, I knew I wanted to marry her, so how can I take care of her? How can I provide a stable future, stable relationship? And military was the best option.
All right, good deal. Real quick, where have you been stationed already?
Moody is my only station base. This is my first and only base so far. I have 4 more years left, so I don't know where I'm gonna be in the next 4 years. But I was originally, so it's a whole story. I was in tech school, which is kind of like you go to boot camp and then you move to tech school, so boot camp is just learning about the military as a whole. So basic military training, that's why it's called that. Then you have tech school, which is learning about your job. So I was in tech school, and I was originally supposed to get stationed in England. I was supposed to go to Mildenhall Air Force Base, and that's in England. So I was originally supposed to go there, but I told them that my mom is sick. So I told them that I wanted to get stationed near my mom just in case anything happened or just in case she needs me. I can just go down to Jacksonville real quick. So somewhere around Jacksonville, just anywhere you can place me. And they put in a deferment letter, which basically means if I'm stationed somewhere, they can send a letter to whoever to change my my deployment station. So they sent me to Moody Air Force Base, which is Valdosta, which is an hour, 2 hours away from Jacksonville. And that's where I'm here now. So that was by the grace of God that I'm able to be this close to home. So Moody is my only base so far.
All right, good deal. Thank you for that. I'll say real quick. We have like maybe 4 minutes. Can you tell us what has been your biggest takeaway as far as leadership and relationship that you've gained from being in the military?
Military leader and relationship. I've gained most of my knowledge or wisdom or understanding, if you want to call it, from the military came from when I was in boot camp. Because they don't really stress it now. They only stress it now if you get in trouble. So they'll bring up the basic roots in the military, but learning like a lot of stuff about the military, how it works or structure and organization came from boot camp. So it taught me time management, definitely be on time. I heard a saying before I joined the military, but they enforce it even more in the military. If you're late, or if you're on time, you're late. And if you're early, you're on time. So they force that so much in the military. I had to be everywhere at least 10, 15 minutes early. Even now, my job, I have to go into work at 3:30. But if I come in past 3:15, I'm late. So it's like, so they definitely enforce it now. So time management, they have this thing called a wingman concept. So basically, if you're going to do anything, I'm not the type of person that does this, but people do in the military, they drink a lot. They'll go to the clubs and parties, whatever. But one thing I've noticed that they always say, hey, if you need a DD, call me. Like they never really leave anyone behind. Like, hey, if you're going to be drinking this weekend, give me a call. I can come pick you up. No matter what I'm doing, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning, just call me. So I'm like, wow, they really look out for each other here. So that's really taught me to, even outside the military, just look out for one another, because you never know, they may need you in a time of need and you don't know it. The military definitely, especially my job, I say that, my job definitely is a big family, honestly. They look out for each other, they'll call each other, like, hey, you okay? If someone comes into work and they're not their normal selves, it's like a buzzer, it's on dead meat, like, hey, you okay? Like, bro, like, I'm okay. But that's how they are. Just look out for you. I'm gonna make sure you're okay, because especially in the military rate, once you get out, the suicide rate even when you're in the military is very, very, very high. So if you come in down depressed, they will flock on you. Like, hey, are you okay? Reach out to me. You got my number, text me. Hey, what's going on? Anything you need from me? So I had that happen to me a couple of times, but I probably just woke up with a headache one morning. Came into work feeling down. They flocked on me. Hey, you okay, man? I'm like, man, I only been here for 6 months. Like, calm down. You don't know me like that yet. So, but that's how they are. They look out for you. So that definitely taught me how to take care of my people, look out for them. Hey, you okay? What's going on? Time management, big thing. But that's really only the 2 main things the military taught me.
All right. So I hope everybody caught that. The one thing I want to point out is when Samary said that the military, his particular branch, they really focus on family. They're really tight. Understand that if that's not something that you had growing up, when you get it, it's very, very uncomfortable.
Very.
It's one of those things. It's like, oh my gosh, what? Like, you are Aggie, or leave me alone. I'm good, because that's all that you know. But when you are around, when you are around a group of individuals that are like-minded, that care about you because of who you are, you begin to tolerate in the beginning, but as it goes on and you understand that they're not there to harm you, you begin to accept and appreciate, that huddling of concern. It could be very, very, very stressful, but when you understand that they mean no harm, when you understand the significance behind no man left behind, you begin to appreciate what it is that has been going on in your life. Samary, I want to take a break real quick. All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Dirty. We have our guest, Samary Duncombe. He talked about the military, talked about leadership, talked about, gave you a little bit about his music. But I want to go ahead and devote this time, before we get into the music. Samary, how has it been being married, newly married, and being in the military?
Stressful. It's been very stressful because at any moment I can get deployed. It's like walking on eggshells in the military. You never know. Matter of fact, one dude just got deployed recently. They told him Wednesday, hey, you can deploy this Friday. I'm like, hold on, wait, that's only 2 days. You got 2 days to prepare. But seeing that, it's like, oh man, that could happen to me at any moment. So, and being newly married on top of that, it's like, okay, we just got married. Now I'm already going for 6 months. So it's like, it's very stressful, very stressful. But they give you a sense of information and knowledge to let you know, hey, when you get deployed, do X, Y, and Z to prepare for your deployment. So they tell you about your finances, get your finances in order. They tell you about certain leases or agreements that you sign, like your rent or bills, insurance, any type of bill. They tell you, hey, call this place, let them know you get deployed. They can hook you up with certain type of deals, blah, blah, blah. So they'll let you know X, Y, and Z to prepare for deployment. But it's not even that I'm worried about. It's the fact that I'm newly married, not even 2 years yet, and I'm already going for 6 months. So it's kind of stressful going into the military every day. Because I'm getting deployed now for 2 weeks to California. So it's like, it's only 2 weeks, but it's like, oh man, 2 weeks. Like, I just hit my 1 year a couple weeks ago. So it's like, I don't know, it's stressful, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. If you look at it from the bigger picture, it's worth it.
All right, real quick, give the newly married guy some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom: communicate. I hear all the time from more seasoned married couples, communicate. And when I first heard it, I overlooked it. I'm like, okay, I talk all the time. But being married, I realized talking and communicating is two different things. That's two different things. And I'm still learning how to do that now because I'm newly married. So I'm still learning how to do certain things now. But by the grace of God and the help of the Holy Spirit, like he's revealing to me a lot of stuff about myself that happened to me before I even got married that I need to work on. And if I don't work on it, it's going to affect my marriage, like communicating or like trusting or like even loving perfectly the way God loves. So keeping Christ the foundation, that's going to be number one for any marriage. I personally encourage is keep God first in everything you do, whether it's in word or in deed, or if you want to talk to her about certain things, like do it all out of love. Do it all out of love. That's really what it's all about, is loving how God loves. And see and communicate. Definitely pay attention to your wife. Pay attention to her triggers. Pay attention to her face, her body language, just everything. Just pay attention. Because they can save you from a lot of trouble. They can save you from a lot of trouble down the long run. So that's all these things I'm telling you now is something I'm still working on to this day. Getting better at it every day. Some days I slip up. Some days I don't pay attention, and I get in trouble. So there's a lot of things that I'm learning, even from my mentors, that they teach me every day. Reading the scripture, it teaches me certain things. So the three biggest takeaways is, number one, just keep God first. That's foundation. Keep God the foundation, not the walls, not the roof, not the bathroom stall. Keep God is your foundation for your marriage, and everything else is built on top of him. So keep God foundation. Second, communicate. And 3, just pay attention.
Now, I hope every man that listens to this and every woman that hears this understands Samary has been married for a year. He has given you some very, 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 very valuable tips on how to maintain your marriage, how to diffuse the arguments before they get there, and how to have a strong foundation. Samary, I'll tell you, communication. If you can't communicate effectively with your spouse, yeah, you might not be on the couch, but it's gonna be difficult. It would be, it's like 2 roommates that ain't pay their rent and due tomorrow.
That's what it's gonna feel like, 2 roommates.
All right. So we talked about the daddy issues and the disappointment and the hurt. Your dad not being in your life obviously put some disappointment and some hurt. Do you still find that you deal with that today? And if you do, how do you deal with that?
Yes, I still do that to this day. It's not on it used to be just men that I come in contact with. Men I come in contact with. I'm a pastor now, Overseer Larry. Shout out to Overseer Larry. It was hard to trust him at first, but he was so consistent. So it's like so he's really the one that kind of broke the mold when it comes down to trusting guys. He was so consistent, and that's what I would lack. Because like I said, my father came in and out. So there was no consistency there. So when I met Overseer Larry, he was just so consistent. He reached out to me. When I go to church, he always talk to me. Hey, what's going on? You all right? We went out some outings a few times. So he was very consistent, and that was what I lacked. And I believe that consistency broke the mold of having a father figure in my life. And then I met his son-in-law. He helped along. The OG came along. Then Calvin, all the men at the church just really helped just break those barriers and break those walls down. With practical men I come in contact with, but I still feel a struggle now to this day. It's affecting my relationship with God, and it's not putting God in the box of my father. So it's like if I didn't trust my father, I feel like he was in and out. And sometimes God can feel like, even though he's not, but sometimes God can feel like he's in and out your life, like he's here one day and sees him like he's not there. So that kind of like, it triggers something in me. Sometimes it triggers that. And God knows that, but he doesn't. That's why it's really important to stay in scripture and stay in his word, because once you start feeding yourself that he never leave nor forsake you, he's always there. He's your strong tower. When you start feeding yourself that you can start, canceling those lies of the enemy that talks to you like, oh, God isn't here. It reminds you of your dad, huh? So a lot of things that the enemy plays on when it comes out of my dad, he will use that and play on it to affect my relationship with God. Does it work sometimes? I'll be real, yeah, it do. Like, we gotta be real with ourselves. Sometimes the devil wins some battles. He won't win the war. The war's already won, but sometimes he wins battles. So we gotta be real with ourselves with that. But once you stay in his scripture and abide in God and continue to read his word, continue to seek him, you start canceling those lies. That's what the word is. It's a sword. If you read in the Bible, it's a lot of defensive armor of God, the breastplate, the shield, the helmet. There's a lot of defensive, but the only offense you got is the word. And that's the only thing you can use is the word against the enemy to fight the lies. So that's what helped me out. So not having my dad in my life, it affected my relationship with God. And like I said, sometimes the devil still wins some battles. But once I remind myself that the war is already won and I can just put my faith in Jesus, I don't got no worries no more, man.
And I appreciate the fact that I played just a little part in who Samary is.
A little part. All y'all played a huge part of my life that helped me overcome this hurdle of not having a dad. So it's not a little, man.
When you understand what it's like to not have one, like I said earlier, like you just tend to gravitate, and you tend to be able to have a conversation that another person may not be able to have just based upon I get you. You know, I think a lot of times we're in circles and they be like, no, I understand. You really don't. You don't understand because you're not listening to what it is that I'm saying. You know, and in order to understand, like, you have to have some kind of skin in the game of, you know, being through it, being hurt by it, been disappointed because of it. So I commend you publicly, you know, for the progress that you have made and that you continue to make, you know, with everything in all aspects of your life. All right, without further ado, we're gonna get into, you know, the good. So, what was, you made a post on your Facebook page, and you had a picture of a closet and you had a picture of a room. And the post was, if I'm not mistaken, you used to record in your mom's house in the closet using your phone and your Apple headphones. And now you have your own home studio, professional grade equipment, and having a place to call your own. So what prompted you to want to get into music?
Oh man, honestly, the thing that prompted me to get into music stemmed from, it's not in a bad way, but what prompted me to stem from music was hurt and not having no hope and losing faith in God sometimes and not being able to express myself. So what prompted me to do music was me realizing that if I'm dealing with this, there's somebody else that's dealing with the same thing. So let me find a way to tell people that there is hope, that you can express yourself, that there is faith that you can find in Jesus. Let me find a way to express that. And we all know that music is the biggest way to effectively reach somebody, subconsciously or consciously, is music. So I figured out, let me just do music. I didn't know how to rap at first. I ain't gonna lie to you, I didn't know how to rap. I knew cat rhyme with bat. I knew dog rhyme with fog. I knew stuff like that. I knew English words, like basic English stuff. So I'm like, okay, let me start off small. So that's where the home studio came into play. I didn't have no equipment. Like I said, I didn't have no job, no money, but I did have a phone. I did have some headphones. So I said, you know what? Let me try something new. Let me try something new. So I started in my closet, rapping with my AirPods, with my little it wasn't even AirPods. It was still the corded headphones connected to the phone. So I was starting from the bottom for real. In my closet, I walked in the closet door. The closet ain't but so big, so I'm in the closet with my clothes still in there, all scrunched up and stuff. Close the door behind me, just gets that acoustic vibe to it. And I started off in there, and I'm writing, letting people know that, hey, there's still faith, still hope, still do it. You can still do it. Keep pushing. There's hope in Jesus. Jesus this, Jesus that. Matter of fact, at first it wasn't even about Jesus. It was about just motivation. But then once I started doing that, God started cultivating me and how I write and trusting the Holy Spirit to write for me. I know I say this all the time, the Holy Spirit is my ghostwriter. Holy Ghost is my ghostwriter. So he's writing stuff for me. So I'm just listening to him, writing. And now it's, you know, it's Jesus centered, gospel centered. I keep it on Jesus because that's all it was about at the end of the day, is Jesus. And that's what God told me to write about, is focus on him, seek him above all else, and like everything else will be added onto you. So I can seek him through my music. That's my alone time, it's my worship time. I go come in my room right here, close the door behind me. My wife know not to mess with me because I'm in here, I'm communing with Jesus. I'm just writing. Look at my writing book, it's all sloppy and scratchy, stuff like that. Because I feel like if I miss something, I ain't gonna get it back. Because I'm just writing, it's all sloppy and stuff. But it's crazy because I understand what I'm writing. It's so weird. My whole process is so weird. But that's what's prompted me to do music, because I want to let people know that there's still hope in Jesus. There's still faith in Jesus. There's still, you still trust in Jesus. If you ain't nobody else you can trust, if nobody else that you feel like you can turn to, and you feel like you're doing all you can, you feel like you ran away from home spiritually, you feel like you have nothing else to lean on, Jesus is always going to be right there. No matter what you did, no matter what you thought you did, no matter how you feel, it's all about Jesus at the end of the day. And that's what my music's all about. Let people know there's still some hope in this dark, dark world. There's still a light.
Well, if the listeners didn't get your inspiration, that's their fault. They wasn't paying attention.
They weren't paying attention.
He said Jesus is his ghost writer.
Basically.
And he has said it before, and I think when he said it, we all laughed, but when you're in tune, have a routine. He said his routine is strange. And I mean, and you pretty much know everybody's routine to write music is it's what works for them.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you come up? I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you about to say?
I was about to say it's crazy because if a pastor tells you, hey, the Holy Spirit gives me what to write, it don't sound crazy because he's a pastor. But when I say that because I'm a rapper, or the Holy Spirit gives me what to write, it's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's just kind of the same thing, right? I'm writing a sermon, but just in rap form. That's all it is. So it's crazy how I put those two together, because people will say that pastors say, oh yeah, my Holy Spirit gave me this last night. People start going crazy for it. When I say the Holy Spirit gave me this song last night, they're like, what? You came up with that your own self. Like, I guess.
Look, you get the side eye.
Yeah, get the side eye.
Holy Spirit gave you this.
Holy Spirit spit and writing rhymes. I mean, Holy Spirit can do anything. He can rap.
Look, real quick, let me take this moment. Where can they go to get St. Bernard's music?
You can go to SoundCloud at St. Bernard, and you can go to YouTube, type in St. Bernard. But if you want to specifically find my page, because YouTube is a wide variety of stuff, type in St. Bernard, Devil's a Liar, and my page will be the first page that pops up.
What comes first, the lyrics or the beat?
Beats comes first. Well, in that question sense, the beat comes first, but in reality, the topic comes first. So what I want to write about comes first, and then I find a certain beat that kind of fits that topic, it fits the vibe of the topic, and then the lyrics comes along.
Do you have a favorite, or do you have a top 3 favorite Christian artists that you listen to, look up to?
Yes, I'm glad you specified Christian artists. Throughout my old artists, I don't have a lot, but because you'd be surprised, a lot of old artists that kind of still inspire me how I write to this day. That's who I am. Like Eminem, Pac, all of them, they still kind of inspire me just a tad bit. But Christian artists, number one definitely got to be Brian T. Brian Trejo. If you never heard about him, look him up. Definitely a good rapper. Probably next, I'll probably have to go with Bizzle. You know, people heard of Bizzle or not. Say 3. I don't think I have a number 3. I think it's just Brian T and Bizzle. As long as you look at my phone, go to my playlist, I have almost all of Brian T albums and almost all of Bizzle albums. And they really inspired me to rap because I'm kind of trying to mix the best of both worlds. Bizzle, to me, yeah, he loves God, he talks about God and stuff like that, but he's more like a lyricist, so he knows how to put words together, make it rhyme, have a little bop to it. But Brian T, he's most of like, when I say a sermon on paper, on a beat, it's literally a sermon on a beat. He keeps it Jesus centered at all times, and it's so crazy to me. So I kind of mixed those two together to make a lyrical sermon and say that, that's a song right there, but it's a lyrical sermon. Anyway, yeah, I'm definitely mixing those two together to, those are my favorite 2 rappers now that I'm inspired by.
I just want all the listeners to know you heard it here first. What the next single is going to be? Lyrical sermon.
Lyrical sermon. Hey.
You heard it here. Let's talk dirty. You heard it here.
It just hit me right there. Lyrical sermon. I'm getting ready to write it.
So you started from the bottom. You said it yourself, and now you're here. Probably not exactly where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be.
Yep.
What advice would you give to an aspiring Christian artist trying to make it come up?
Just keep doing what you're doing, and God will handle everything else. Just seek Him, seek His kingdom first. Continue to read His word. That's one thing I would encourage people to do, is just continue to seek God first, and everything else be added to you. So back then, I was, like I said, I was doing motivational stuff. I wasn't really seeking God, but once I started doing that, that's when all the stuff with me joining the military, getting money, being able to get all my equipment. That's when all that stuff started to happen. But during that process, I just continued to seek him. Did I slip up and started making music my idol, which gotta be careful with that. I'm kind of still focused on how to focus, like trying to prioritize that. But sometimes you can make music an idol. I encourage y'all, don't make music an idol. Seek the person that gave you that gift. Don't put the gift over the giver. So see the person that gave you the gift. Everything else be added to you. All the lyrics, all the songs. If you need more equipment, seek God. If you're trying to figure out what's the rhyme for this next song word, seek God. You're trying to figure out when the next album will drop, seek God. Everything else will be added to you. That's my biggest thing, because that is my testimony.
Does your wife support your musical career?
Absolutely. She was on. I think she was on a couple of songs. Like my old songs, she's on a few of them.
Y'all better get you one. You can't have that one, but you better get you one that'll be on that'll support you.
Yeah, exactly.
What would how old are you?
23.
What would the 23-year-old Samary Duncombe tell the disappointed, hurt 8-year-old Samary Duncombe?
That's a good one. I'd probably say it's all worth it. It's all worth it. All the stuff that you're going through, all the stuff that you don't understand, that you don't realize what's going on, it's all worth it in the end. And one day, you're going to be able to help other people that's going through the same thing you're going through and get them out. And when you're doing that, you're going to be out as well. You're going to be free from all this. You're going to overcome this. You're going to do better. Keep pushing, because it's all worth it. That's what I tell them.
The one thing that I want all listeners to know, that a lot of times we feel, especially as men, we feel that we are the only person that's going through what we're going through. There's nobody else out there. It's a trick from the devil to get you to stay in a place of depression, stay in a place of discord, stay in a place of, I don't want to talk to him because I don't know what he's going to do with it. Or I don't want to talk to God because God wouldn't let me go through what it is that I'm going through. He's put you here. He's put something in you that he's just waiting for you to understand that it's in you, so you can get it out and have the conversation with him to figure out how and who and what your next move is, to make sure that the things that you've gone through aren't just for you. The things that you're going through is for that 8-year-old, for your 8-year-old self. The things that you're going through, it is for the person that you work with, that you've developed a relationship with, that is possibly struggling with, some of the same things that you've gone through. And the only person that can truly speak to that thing is you. I can't talk about Christian music. I'm not about writing it. But when I tell you, I told Samara when he dropped that song, he dropped a teaser, and the teaser, I was like, well, hurry up, because I need that. It's one of those things when you see, when you tap into, when you realize that you're not alone, not just in all the things that you've gone through, but you're not alone, because God doesn't leave. He doesn't put you in strange positions, predicaments, and just be like, well, you go ahead and deal with it. No, that's the trick. That's what the enemy wants you to think. The enemy wants you to think that you're all by yourself and you have to trust him. I hope that you understand that you can become anything that you want to become when you're focused. You can do anything that you want to do when you have people in your corner that believe in you. The one thing I challenge all of my listeners to do is to take what it is that you've been through growing up and then mentor somebody else so they don't have to go through what you went through, and eliminate that time gap for another person. Samary, I want to say thank you for taking the time to do this interview. Thank you for the words of wisdom that you've given. Thank you for your candid conversations. Thank you for, letting all the listeners know, whether old, whether newly married for 20 years, married for 60 years, that one of the key things that we need to do is communicate.
Absolutely.
I look forward to hearing the next single. For all my listeners, real quick, Samar, before we go, give them where they can go ahead and get St. Bernard.
St. Bernard, get them on SoundCloud. It can be on SoundCloud at St. Bernard. It can be on YouTube at St. Bernard. But YouTube is big. A lot of channels, a lot of songs in there. If you type in St. Bernard, you may not get me on YouTube. You may not get who I am. So type in St. Bernard, Devil's a Liar. You'll find my channel. First one at the top. And you'll see all my music on there as well.
I can't leave without giving you the tagline: deal with your daddy issues today. Otherwise, they'll deal with you tomorrow.
I hope you got something out of today's episode. I want you to know that I believe in you. And don't forget, deal with your daddy issues today. Otherwise, they'll deal with you tomorrow. Talk soon.